Didn't mean to live stream, meant to record it, but now we're live, so everyone can see this. So no editing. All right, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Hey, Dom.
Hello, audience. We got Chase, Cowboy, shoot him, root and boot him. Watch how he scoots him on the dance floor. Chase! There he is. We got Mr. Accountant. Hide your numbers. He's going to find out where it is. He's lurking in the shadows of his office as the 15-minute timer goes off on his lights. We got boom. All right. And is it 4 a.m., 3 a.m.? We don't even know the time difference coming over from the UK. It's such a foreign place to us Americans over here. We do know one thing, though. They got some fun party people out there. And that would be represented by Homer.
It's 1:20 p.m.
Yeah, well, okay. Not
That's
AM.
nice.
AM
Not
sounds a little more
5:19
fun.
a.m.
Yeah, I forgot how early it was over here. Okay, and we'll start off with Chase then, because he was nice enough to wake up for us. So we're going to start today's episode in a new format. We got 2 questions. First question is Trump good or bad for the USA?
Yep.
Second question is, what's the purpose of life? We're going to spend the next hour and an hour and a half talking about those 2 questions only. So which one would you guys like to start with? Can I get a raise of hands? Who wants to start with Trump?
No, let's just start with Trump, but I do have a question.
Yes.
My question is, if we all feel like the U.S. was being taken advantage of for the last, call it 20 years or more, taken advantage of, or was this strategic by the U.S.? Let me explain. I'll give one example. Like a U.S. air base, right? You could frame it 2 ways. Oh, we're spending all this money. We're doing all this stuff to protect you guys and protect your assets and to make sure you're safe. Or you can frame it the other way and say, well, we're giving you this space to be able to use where you can have your bases and have forward deployments. And the reason why I'm asking that is because I feel like that is a framing that I have that I want to challenge, in the sense of, I believe Trump when he says that we've been getting ripped off, we've been getting taken advantage of. And I think if that is true, then it's like, is Trump good for the US? Well, technically, yes. Except it's going to be like, when you're trying to get into shape and you're out of shape, you're going to have months of like suffering before it starts to get easier, it starts to get better, and you're going to be better off because of it. So I feel like that's like a piece that I need. Like, how do we feel about that? Because I'm coming from the stance of like, we needed to adjust what we were doing. And if that's the question, did we need to adjust what we were doing? Then I think he's good for the US. Okay. So, but what you're trying to get at, which I think is the point of a stupid question, the way we're asking it, is how do we define good for the US? And you're defining bad for the US as you think we were being taken advantage of by partners that we work with across the globe. Yeah, I look at it as like the theme of Trump across the globe is like, we want our cake and eat it too. Is like, the status quo was so great, now Trump is so bad. And it's like, well, was great for who? Like everything, not everything, but the US was seeing declines in many things, and China was seeing rises. So like, if that's the theme that you want to keep happening, then we'll keep doing status quo. From my perspective in the US is like, nah, we need to cut that. Like finally someone's willing to step up and stop some of those declines and try to combat the rise of China and the rise of, mostly just China. So yeah.
Okay. So let me just set the table and I'll pass it to Ben. So it sounds like you're saying before Trump, you think the USA was on a bad path to decline before Trump, right?
Correct.
Okay. And I think the people that would take the opposite side of your argument would basically say the exact same thing. The US is on a bad path to decline, but their starting point is after Trump. So
correct.
But you think Trump is fixing the bad path of decline. Okay, so maybe that's how we start to think about what's good versus bad. Is is the USA or was the USA on a bad path to decline? All right, Ben.
And before you hop in, Ben, I agree that perception is so subjective, or like we can talk about the other aspects as well, but this is kind of like another general statement. It was on a bad path. So go ahead, Ben.
I'm going to get a coffee, Ben, but I'm listening.
There he is.
DJT2.
We don't call him Trump for no reason.
I totally agree with Chase's point that on a global scale, he's been very good for the United States. A counter argument on the definition of good is the inside of the United States. Like, we're more divided than ever. Like, I have friends who like don't talk to me anymore because they know I supported Trump. Like, I think we're more divided inside as a country than maybe we've ever been.
Was that Trump's fault?
Not Trump's fault. It's the people. And things are still like really expensive in the United States. Like, inflation is still pretty crazy high. And that might have happened during the Biden administration. But I think it's tough for people inside of the country. But I think he is putting our interests, our best interests into the world.
From like an inflation perspective, like what do they say about American presidency? You only see the true effects of a president in terms of economic impact. Is it like 2-3 years after they leave office? I'm pretty sure that's what they talk about, like the Obama effect.
I think it's more immediate. I think it's more immediate than that.
Really?
Yeah, I think if you're a smart economist, you think that, but like the perception, the normal person does not think that. They just think immediate.
Okay, wait. So Hemant, we got 2 votes for thinking Trump's been good for the USA. You have a good perspective on this because you live in UK. What are your thoughts on that?
Can I take 2 stances which are going to contradict myself?
Sure.
So from where I sit in London, the view of the US is different under Trump. Like the categoric thing you'll probably hear is that Trump has been bad for how America is perceived, and that sentiment is not contested across Europe. I'd say, like, if you look at the polling for it, I think earlier on I read there's a Pew Research Center from June. There were like 42,000 respondents, 36 countries. Canada went from 83% calling the US a reliable partner to now 35%. Sweden, who were very pro the US, sits at 19%. Like, Trump's allies have abandoned him. Now, if you think about it from a leadership perspective, it's very difficult to sit there and say someone is good for the US. Now, this is where I'm now going to contradict that viewpoint, which is, yet still, Europeans will buy American weapons, F-35s, European procurement streams through US defense. We hold dollars. 57% of global reserves are dollars. Euros at 20% and hasn't moved. So people aren't shifting their money elsewhere. We still rely on US cloud. Amazon, for example. Every UK company I've ever worked with relies on US cloud. And our kids consume American food, American culture. And that hasn't fallen under Trump, the way people have boycotted other things. So it's a hard question to answer. I don't think I've given a right or wrong there. But
do you think
there's a perception of him that is categorically bad?
Do you think that perception's been hijacked? So other countries are trying to push that perception and propagate it?
No, I don't think so. I think that is because, from a media perspective, Trump doesn't help his cause. I mean, we've seen it enough times, right? He gets the Japanese PM into the Oval Office and disrespects her. He gets Zelensky into his office, disrespects him. the more you do that, I mean, the Italian lady as well, who's an absolute fucking shark, you know, they were a huge proponent for the US, and she's like, she doesn't want to ever talk to Trump again. There's like, he's disrespected a lot of people on a public stage and threatened a lot of people on a public stage, which, yeah, maybe because of Chase, what you say, do people try and take advantage of the US? But I don't think so. The US is so powerful. It's very difficult to take advantage of such a powerful nation. So I think it's the way he treats other people that leads people outside of the US to have this perception of Trump as, you're a dick.
Yeah, he pisses off a lot.
Do you see what I mean?
By his delivery. Like, I don't think he really means it, but the way he talks, like, really pisses people off.
Yeah, I do think he walks the line between very mean and very funny, and crosses it.
I think
whether
it's
he means it.
hilarious. Yeah.
Well-
Yeah, but I think Hemmon's point makes sense. It's funny
Yeah.
if you can watch it from an outsider's perspective. If you're on camera in front of 10 million people and your family's watching you and you're so excited and you're getting embarrassed, you don't want to do that again. You know, you don't want to go into a partnership where you're going to do that again. So I also see Hemmon's point where you catch more bees with honey than vinegar. And if we are that powerful, are there other, softer ways that get people looking at us more favorably? I don't know who published this study. I don't know if you saw this. This could be total junk, so I don't want to give it any credit. But I do think that this general narrative of like the China's viewed more favorably if you survey a bunch of people or different countries than the US right now. I do think that narrative is what's being pushed. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if the data backs it up or not. That's not going to tell us anything. But I think to Chase's point, clearly that is the narrative that whoever, whether it's people that just don't like Trump or people that don't want the USA to have this position, are definitely pushing that. But I think to Hemmon's point,
That
Trump
doesn't
makes
make
it
it true.
Trump makes it so much easier to
Yes.
position people against him if he's being mean to you than if he was
Yes.
just really nice. So it's kind of a catch-22.
Because they would do that if you were being nice too. They if they didn't like it. I mean, what one person calls disrespect, another one, doesn't. And I've seen the media where they're like, "Oh, Trump just tossed the whole Japanese thing in there. It's a sign of disrespect." And then they show another clip where it's the whole video, and the Japanese guy tossed it in first, and Trump looked at him like, "Oh, okay," and then tossed it in. So they framed it as if Trump did this disrespectful thing, and the full clip was like he was kind of just like following suit. He didn't really know what to do, and it wasn't disrespectful at all. So I truly feel like the perception's being hijacked, and two things are true at once. Like there's the propaganda side that they're truly trying to make it that way, and then on the other side, the reality is our culture is still being exported all across the world, like music, movies, sports, food. Just the way we operate is being exported still, and so I feel like the reality is less as sticky, I guess, as the propaganda. Meaning
the question you have to ask.
Go ahead.
The question you have to ask to Don, that graph you just pulled up, China is viewed more favorably. Yeah, fair enough. And your average Joe on the street might tell you we're buying from Shein and we're consuming TikTok. But when you look at reviewing a leader, are people buying Chinese? Are people using Kimi over Claude? Are people buying Chinese intelligence? Are people buying Chinese defense systems? Are people buying into Chinese infrastructure and Chinese natural resources? They're not. And so from that perspective, China might be viewed more favorably on social media, or people might say we we prefer China.
But Hemant, I do think there are clear signs. Auto being a great example of this. BYD from China is selling everywhere in Europe. They definitely, or Shein is a good example, or Temu. It's on the lower end, but it's still a very popular brand. PDD Holdings owns Temu, I believe. So my point is, China is also infiltrating those same markets and taking market share.
That's purely on price. People are only buying. That's fast fashion based on price.
Right, but
that has such fragile infrastructure. Like, that's really fragile infrastructure. That's like the wind changes 1 minute and that's gone. Do you know what I mean? There's no like, they're not embedding themselves into government and society and business.
Well, I think your point around cloud makes the most sense here, because you're right. That seems to be something that you would not buy a Chinese cloud to support your infrastructure.
Yeah, it's like bricks. Bricks sounds like it's gaining steam, sounds like it's the future, but I just feel like the reality is no one's going to buy into it because there's too many. It's too volatile. There's too many. Those countries, there's too much volatility there. So they're not like, why would I go and make sure or put my money or put my assets into this system, this country, whatever, this regime, when at any moment they can decide, oh, we're going to war. Sorry, this isn't yours anymore. Or whatever. We don't like it anymore. Yeah. This is ours now. So as much as
my view,
like the trust is still there with the U.S., even though it's tarnished.
Don, what do you think?
So
Wait, let Hemant go, then I'll go.
I have final 3 points on this to Chase's point about trust. I think that part is slowly diminishing from a Europe perspective. Forget China, but from a Europe perspective, there's three things. Europe is now starting to hedge against the US. We're building capability that's designed to not need America. That's a loss of control, I think, from Trump's perspective. Like autonomy, we're trying to give businesses autonomy across Europe. We're trying to remove borders. That's a long-term play. Talent, it used to be the dream of every European to grow out and get into America, whether you're an employee, whether you're a founder, whatever it might be. But now you've got, the world's most ambitious people are thinking west. There's people in Bangalore that are building billions of dollars of value out there. Germany is thriving. People are choosing London. If that compounds very quietly but quickly. And that sentiment against the US. And then the final thing is you get into the sanctions, the export controls. People are going to be forced to look elsewhere. And America might say people need us, but at the end of the day, the more that the rest of the world builds, the less people need you. And I think Trump is paying a price on that. And I think trust is the one asset, on America's balance sheet, that only its allies can value. And that's getting marked down over time. Does that make sense?
I think that's a great framing, balance sheet of trust.
Yeah, from my perspective, the talent isn't going to the U.S. as much because the opportunity is so much higher. It's so much easier today than it was. I mean, even 5 years ago, legitimately, it's easier now to become a millionaire than ever before. So I'm not saying, I think there's a portion of it being the U.S. isn't looked at the same way, but I still think that is still on fragile backbones, because the second EU, like you're saying, they're trying to make it easier. The EU is just gaining more power as an organization, and they turn one or two knobs and it's going to turn into businesses fleeing, just like California. I mean, I think that's a lot more fragile than it looks. And it sounds good and it sounds like real, but there's issues happening with the EU where at any moment it could all crumble. Like not crumble, but you know, that type of sentiment that's gaining steam can just fall off a cliff. And I think the stability is still in the US. And even though we might have come down from our peak, our valley is way higher than a lot of than Europe and a lot of places, because we still do have the certain freedoms, and we still have, you know, a proper Supreme Court and business environment and all of these things that make the US like, yeah, I'm going to go vacation here and it sounds good to live here. And then I go live there for a few years and it's like, yeah, I didn't realize how good I had it. And so I feel like it's a little bit more fragile than it looks. But I do agree. All of that is true. I think it all goes back to the framing, though, of if there was something that needed to be fixed, you know, Trump can be the scapegoat. Like, did the U.S. have to do something? Did Trump have to do something? Is he having to force AI winning? So he's going to look bad. He's going to be the scapegoat for data centers and all this stuff. Even though if we didn't, we'd be screwed. Did he have to force manufacturing back to the U.S.? If he didn't, what would happen? Did he have to force election integrity, which like is like easy for people to call on him? He's like, you know, like the media perception of him when he's simply just trying to have election integrity makes him look bad. So I don't know. I just feel like the path is ugly, and he was. I don't think he can even accomplish what he wants to accomplish. I think it's going to take another Republican president for 8 years to get there that has the same type of backbone. But I think that he had to do something. And I just think that, you know, the media is holding it against him. And it's the easy thing to do. It's the easy thing is to call him out on all these things when it's like, well, let's start airing out everybody else's dirty laundry and see what happens. So, soapbox off.
Warren Buffett has a great quote, find businesses so good that an idiot could run it. So I'm not saying Biden nor Trump are an idiot, but what I'm saying is, does any of it matter who's running the US? Because I guess to Hammond's point, he's saying that we're still buying everything. Like, I don't know if, I guess that's the question. Does it really matter who's the president? If it's a 4-year to 8-year thing, the next president immediately, you know, rescinds all of the changes the prior one made. We move 2 yards at a time and 1 yard back every decade. And to Hammond's point, until there's, you know, more global infrastructure like the cloud and all of this stuff, then people are rearming because of US, reteching because of the US, and we're reshoring. And that's really, I think, what's happening right now is that Europe's rearming. Europe also needs the retech, so they should have all their own clouds. They should be independent, which probably is bearish for Amazon and the US cloud. But we'll have so much AI demand, it probably won't matter. It'll offset it. And then reshoring, I think that was my view on all of this. If Trump's good or bad, I think clearly it's both. But I think giving him credit, he pointed out stuff that most people did not point out as a big issue. And then I also think he probably overdid some of it. So like Iran's a great example. Like he went into Venezuela, cut the head off the snake. We were in and out. He had like all the support of everyone else. In the first 48 hours of Iran, we killed the 30 top people in that establishment. Like I feel like maybe that would have been the moment to pull back, or like when he first got into office, when the CNN reporter would ask him some question, he would like go at them and be like, look, you guys are fake news, blah, blah, blah. And I think that was appropriate for the first like 2 to 3 weeks when he was like trying to change the culture. But now I watch it like 10 months into it, or like 18 months. It's like, it's just like mean to that person. Yeah. So I feel like he pointed out a lot of good stuff, but he also took it all too far. And so it's kind of the pendulum swinging, but net, it's not a question that has an answer, because we don't know what the opportunity cost of a different person. We don't know the opportunity cost of not doing it. We don't know the opportunity cost of someone else getting in there. Like the only way to really know if this is good or bad would be to know the alternative history of if Kamala had won and what would have happened there. And we don't really know what would have happened there, although everyone has thoughts.
Last point from me. Chase kind of mentioned this, but Trump has done a great job like shaking things up. And I think if we get a good Republican, like younger, business minded, reasonable president for the next 8 years, I think we'll be doing very, very well.
Okay, let's flip this question on its head though for Ben and Chase. So let's say this didn't work out, and let's say Trump, it was undebatably he was bad for the USA. What would have to happen over the next 2 years? Do you think that would unwind, or do you not see any potential sliding down the hill of what he's doing? Like, could there be something over the next 2 years that you go, oh shit, he really was bad for the USA? We were wrong.
Personally, I feel like Iraq 2.0 would be devastating.
Yeah.
So if he just kept escalating Iran into ground troops and all of that, I think that would hurt the U.S. and hurt the Republicans as a whole, and just totally ruin anything good that he's ever done. I think he focuses way too hard on, look, the stock market's doing good, so we're doing good. So I feel like if he did that for the next 2 years and just continues that, I feel like that would play into the slide more than I hope he's not. I hope they're doing things like Scott Bessent. I feel like I hope they're moving the chess pieces to help the affordability side. I think all of that takes way bigger moves than people realize. Like, oh, housing is this, affordability is that. It's like, yeah, do you think it's really a flip of the switch? Because it's not. It takes really major policy decisions to try and like push people into those buckets. PBD had a good suggestion, something like, I'm signing this, no tax on anyone under 30 years old, no income tax moving forward. And basically his thought is like, we got to do something to help the younger generation. And that's just one easy thing we can do to like help spur their economic growth, the younger people. So something like that it would take. If he doesn't do something like that, then I think what you're saying he'll just continue to slowly decline. That's all I got.
Yeah, and if the stock market like crashes.
True.
So Chase, you're saying he can't point out how good the stock market's doing all that much, or said another way, he needs to make it more balanced between the affordability focus and the stock market focus. But he can't let the stock market go down, which means he has to fix the affordability problem without hurting the stock market. And then at the same time, try to contain Iran so this thing doesn't evolve into something that leaves a multi-year long issue that the U.S. is dealing with. I think the reason why there's a lot of ammo against him in the press is that the two things you're saying that, you're clearly a lover of his and a big supporter. The two things you're saying, affordability and Iran, are clearly like teetering from an outsider's perspective as far as hard to understand what's going on. Doesn't really seem like to the average person that they're happy with what's happening. I've had, Republican friends that have lost faith in the last few months and not switched, but just don't know what to do. But I've also had people like you that believe that we don't know what's really going on, and you got to just trust this process and things like that. So, who knows? But yeah, it's just, I just think things are very fragile, and so it's easy to instill fear because it's not a big leap of the imagination to think this thing goes bad, even though it is currently going okay.
You know what you said that can actually push us probably to the next question,
Yeah.
which is like, I feel like people don't have moral conviction anymore, or at least not as much. And so somebody can sit there and be like, I don't know what to do, because they don't have enough like conviction of their beliefs of what, to just like be okay with things maybe not seeming good, but being okay with it. Like, I really feel like people go with the wind, and they're what people are worried about today are things that are not good for them. Like it's not good to worry about certain things, because it's just your anxiety goes up. You have no control over it. Like, it doesn't do any good for you. And so people are just like flopping with the wind and rising with the tides. And so it makes it super easy to get all nervous and scared and worried, and be willing to go like, well, I'm going to try the socialist now. It's like, what are we talking about? Like, do you not have any moral like ground? Like, do you not have anything inside of you that realizes, I don't think that's good, even though I don't like what's going on here? So I feel like that's a problem that's kind of happening, is like people don't have kind of like a backbone as much anymore, or they don't have a moral framework that's strong, that
People make a lot of excuses nowadays, and it's a woe is me. Instead of like picking yourself up, go get a job, like work hard. Like, I think there's a lot to be said just about changing the culture inside of the United States.
I think that all stems from that, is my point. I truly do. Like, it's something I almost admire from like the socialist or Antifa people, is like they just have like a strong, they feel that, they believe it, and they have conviction. And there's way too many people that are in the middle that have no conviction. And so they're just, okay, we'll go for the left, like trans, all this is all okay. And then someone kind of wakes them up and shakes it up, and they go, yeah, you're right, that isn't okay. And we're going to start going this way. And so like, they have nothing for themselves. So they, that's,
Well, and those kinds of people won't even consider having a conversation with us about politics. We don't even have an opportunity to talk to them.
yeah.
I don't know if I agree with what you guys are saying, but Hemant, do you have a point on to close us, and then we'll move on to the purpose of life, because I want to respond to those two also.
Yeah, I guess I think it's unambiguous that for America's brand, from an outside perspective, Trump's been bad. But for your fundamentals, it's too early to tell. Like, the direction of travel is maybe a bit concerning, but your asset base is like still ridiculous. If you look at IMF Q1 reports from this year, I read it the other day. Like, the dollar, capital markets, I think US equities are nearly like close to 50%, I think, of like global market cap. AI investment, it's ridiculous. But goodwill isn't like a sprinkle of decoration on top of hard power. Like, the US has been a country that has led through alliances with the UK, with other countries around Sweden, with other countries around the world. And he's spending that goodwill. And that's the bit that's concerning. But I think we'll only see the long tail effect of that in 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. I love your point on the balance sheet. All right. So wait, bringing it back to what they were saying and trying to tie it all together. Yeah, I think the US's balance sheet is insanely strong, and there's different ways to leverage it. And also, Trump said something yesterday about we can use the military to figure out the yield curve, something along those lines, which is implying, hey, if the US goes broke, way before we go broke, we're taking the military and we're going to extract as much value from around the world as possible before we would let this country go bankrupt. which is a very 1600s emperor kind of mindset. But I also don't know if I disagree with it. I think if it came down to it and it was either the U.S. dollar collapses or we need to go get real serious about becoming a military first nation, then I think it's pretty clear we would do the latter. And that's clear in my opinion, because that's what's happened in human history. Every time any society's ever wanted to go prevent themselves from collapsing or continue prospering, they, pillage. And so I kind of think that we live in a world where that seems like, oh, that was like in the, mid-century, like medieval times. But frankly, we're still human. And if it came down to it, I think that would be what would have to happen. Yeah. So
Yet they all still collapse.
not saying it would work, but I'm saying that would be it's like before you throw a Hail Mary, you're doing that, you're still going to throw that Hail Mary if it came down to it. So there's a backstop that is pretty significant against the US in like almost all scenarios that people I don't think talk about from the military perspective. But then to Ben and Chase, the reason I said I kind of disagree with what you guys are saying, and I feel like you're taking a very like, hey, this is correct and this is incorrect, and like they won't even speak to us, yada yada yada. But that is America, right? Like the whole point of it is that you completely disagree with everything they're saying, and like that is literally what this thing was built around. And so to I don't think it's a flaw, I think that's literally what America is. And I
feel like I gave credit to Antifa even because they had convictions. My point was not enough people have that. So I don't think there's a problem. I think the problem is just like if people had some convictions, they knew who they were, they knew what they wanted to be, they had some vision, they had like convictions in their life. Frankly, I feel like they wouldn't be able to get pushed and swayed and moved by the media, like, and by people and by all this stuff. That's all. So,
yeah, but again, same concept. That's free will.
Yeah.
Their choice is
Absolutely.
to change their mind based on what they think is valuable information, which you probably don't give any sort of value to, but they feel it's very valuable. And you see that as them not thinking for themselves, and they see you as being, I don't know, but I don't know if they'd probably say the same thing. They would probably look at people that support Trump and say same thing. Like they're not thinking for themselves. They watch Fox News and they're brainwashed. So I think that's what
people are like that are conservative. I really don't think it's conservative.
But those people have conviction. A lot of it. Then they're conservative. They have no more or less conviction than Antifa or a liberal or any.
True. Some of those people, true.
But we don't have to be so divided. Like, I don't care what you think, Don. I respect you. I love you. Like, I'll still always talk to you no matter what you believe.
Right.
As long as it doesn't really affect me. So let's just have a conversation.
Yeah, but I think, I don't know if this is connected, but I was thinking about it earlier. I didn't fully answer the question, but like I loved Europe. I loved living in London. I think Europe's the most beautiful country in the world. Like I would love to travel there all the time. I've never seen Japan. I really want to go see Japan. Like it was always my goal, live in Japan, London, and California. I lived in California. I lived in London. There's not a freaking chance in the world I'm moving to Japan and living there right now, until I feel like it's more stable out there. And I'd love to see China. I'm afraid to go to China. Like, so I feel like, to Trump's point, like I never used to think about this. I was just like, oh, I'm just going to move to London and live there. Like I never thought about the downside. Like just going to travel Europe. Like and now I feel, I think a lot more about like, is it safe to do all this stuff in the same way I was doing it? Like, can you really go travel, freely? Like what happens if something broke out in Taiwan in the next month or 6 months? Like these are just all thoughts that I had never had in my head that are all now more relevant and stem from the idea that it's impossible for everyone to just like perfectly get along in harmony, although that would be amazing. and that would be way better. Then I could travel Europe all day. Wouldn't have a problem.
Yep, and to close it out on that point, all of these people talk so badly. They hate America. They hate it. They hate it. They hate it. They're not moving. You know, I haven't met a single person who says they hate America, but they haven't actually acted on it and moved to a different country.
That's their right.
Yeah.
And I'll defend their right while they complain about it.
It's easy to complain, but it's more difficult to act on it.
I mean, I really do feel like the U.S.'s morals, like, and their framework of like the freedom and First Amendment has been hijacked and propagandized. Like with social media, it's so easy to spend. If I'm Russia, China, Iran, who cares? Qatar, I can spend 500 million, $1 billion a year just propagandizing people through social media. Digital, just digital. And there's nothing we can. There's nothing we can do about it.
Social media has on our lives.
Yeah.
Like people spend, like, there's a stat out there, like 2 to 5 hours a day on this.
Yeah.
But you know, I heard a stat yesterday that was really interesting. I was listening to this guy from he used to live in China. He was on a podcast, and he was saying something like 40% of high school students in China have depression or some sort of anxiety diagnosis. It might have been higher than 40%, but I'm saying it was at least 40%, which is like an insane number. But China also has very tight controls on social media use. You can't play video games past a certain hour. You can't use Duop, the TikTok, past a certain hour. So, and then later in the same podcast, he was talking about how kids in America are depressed because of social media and all this stuff. And it got me thinking, like, wait, so kids in China are depressed and they're restricted in social media, and we're not, and we're also depressed. So, like, is social media the reason we're depressed? Or is there something else? Because China's kind of a sample size against that. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
I think it plays a big role in our depression.
What'd you say?
I think social media plays a big role in the mental health crisis in America.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's use that as a segue to the next question then. We're going to talk about what's the purpose of life. And I think maybe the social media thing's a very good starting point, because I do think if you're a kid and your perception is my purpose in life is to become an influencer, that changes what you value and how you value it, whether you're valuing it internal looking outwards or outwards looking inwards. I think I would argue if you're doing the influencer thing, it's very hard not to get sucked into the idea that the value equation is outwards looking inwards rather than inwards looking outwards.
Well, I think we're all hardwired to add value to this world. I think that's how we were built. And kind of a counter argument to that, like, I've got a lot of influencers out there, like, at the end of the day, like, don't really feel like they're adding much to society. And I think we're hardwired to work, like, achieve something. The happiest that I am is when I'm working really hard and doing things for my family and my friends and my community. I think just the way that we're animals, the way that we were built, that's a big part of our purpose, is just to add value to this world. And like Trump has said in the past, the best way to kill depression is to go work and do something and add value to the world. And I truly believe that. So.
Work, baby, work.
Hammett, what do you think purpose of life is? Ben, aka Trump, our Trump, is saying it's about adding value. And that comes in the context of, it sounds like adding value to other people, Ben, is that correct?
Yep, and your family, your community, and just always having a chasing a goal.
And you're saying influencers don't have that. I think you can argue, like Warren Buffett, I guess he has that, but like with what I'm doing, I don't feel it's the same level of impact putting money into stock pieces of paper as trying to, you know, build a virtual events company that like would connect people, right? Like those are fundamental. I feel less purpose from that, but a different, anyways. But to your point, I do think like the idea of you know, these jobs are very different, and maybe you're not getting the same purpose from it. But Hemet, what do you think is the point of life here?
Connected to social media or generally?
Social media is the jumping off point, but how do you add value and how do you define value?
So I hate social media. Like I use it, don't get me wrong, but I feel like I'm very much in control of my social media use. But I think your average individual is not. That's true. But I think like there are a lot of people that are so easily influenced by it that they then suddenly start viewing their life as inadequate.
Yep.
And they look at themselves in the mirror and they look at their themselves aesthetically and they feel inadequate. They look at what they have and they feel it's inadequate. And you're talking about top 1%ers who have a family and 2 cars and a nice house, and yet they still look at their life and they see a friend of theirs who's spent 15 grand on a credit card to buy a watch and goes on luxury holidays, and they're like, why can't I do that? And then it riles them up, and then they need that, and that fucks your life up, you know, like honestly.
Yeah,
You
and the
know, it
influencers are, like H said, most of them are fake.
Yeah, it's fake. I mean, to be fair, on Instagram, they genuinely are fake now. You can't tell the difference between an AI model and a non-AI model. But it does give people this like warped perception of what life should be, because I guarantee you go behind the scenes on a lot of that, they're miserable, they're probably depressed. They actually don't have much of that as part of their day-to-day. They have far less intrinsic satisfaction from what life should bring you. I mean, I think Chase can probably relate to this like quite well with myself, but my purpose is chosen at 6 a.m. in the morning when my kids woke up, you know, every morning, and they decide what my purpose is, you know. However much I try to sell in a day or drive efficiency, yeah, they value inefficiency, you know. So for me, that drives purpose. It's like, I think, and this could be a selfish opinion, but if I get to play at home with 2 of my kids at 5:30 p.m. after work, get to go to the park, you know, put them to bed, tell them a bedtime story, I guarantee intrinsically I am happier than that blonde model who's got on a private jet to fly to Cannes, you know.
H, that's
and had
beautiful.
a.
You're gonna put me in tears.
Do
That's
you know what
beautiful.
I mean? But no, I think, but like it
Well,
doesn't have to be
your
like this,
happiness
really.
is more sustainable for sure. Whether she has a better time or whatever, but yours is a more sustainable happiness because it's more durable, right? It's, you know, you don't have to chase the next high to like be happy where you were happy before. Like you're just content doing that same thing every day for the rest of your life. That's I think the beauty of it.
It's happiness versus joy. The other one is
exactly
short term versus joy is constant, or not constant, but true joy is just like happiness elevated.
Like I'm really happy with you boys at Riot House for 3 days in Scottsdale. Do you know what I mean?
Just for the record.
Just for the record. That is a serious dopamine hit. But you know. But then again, like a lot of that is built. A lot of that is built off lasting relationships we've built between ourselves versus bought.
For sure. Yeah. And we don't need. We could have gone anywhere in the world. We just sat somewhere in a park with the four of us. It would have been just as good of a time. You know what I mean? We would have figured it out. So guaranteed, dude. Don't talk like Scottsdale.
It's the simple
All
things.
right.
No, but for real, there, you know, we would if you put us in a beach with nothing to do, I guarantee you by the end of that day we would have like reinvented how to play golf with pebbles and nothing. You know what I mean? And like we just would have found something that was fun and like deepen the relationship as opposed to needing. So I don't know. I guess my point was the Riot House thing is just a way to strengthen the relationship. But the heart of it is not that different from what you're saying, playing in the park with your kids, Hemmett. Like that's what we were doing. We were just playing in the park together as friends.
It's relationship, like you said.
Yeah, it's relationships
is a key word. So my moral framework comes from, and I think all of Western culture, whether you realize it or not, the deep down framework comes from Christianity. So, and that's, I grew up, you know, Christian and basically kind of stopped being religious for a while. And then recently, you know, have gone back to church and kind of found that love again. And I think that is the purpose of life. Basically your relationship with God, but I'm going to tie it to, so like Don, you gave some good starting off points in the show notes, which was Robert Waldinger's Harvard study, the longest running scientific study on happiness in history. And his premise is the most durable empirical answer is relationship quality. Strong connections repeatedly predict happier, healthier, longer lives. Viktor Frankl, who was famously in a concentration camp, so just reduced.
Oh, I have his book here. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, so
search for meaning.
Basically reduced to nothing, you know, comes out. Humans are not primarily fulfilled by pleasure. Meaning comes through responsibility, contribution, love, work, and how we respond to unavoidable suffering.
There's the book. Yeah.
Man's Search for Meaning. Yep. And then Stephanie Harrison is called The New Happy. And her point is happiness is a byproduct, not a project. So true lasting well-being is the natural result or byproduct of how you live. So core pillars. Harrison's work shows that fulfillment flows from self-acceptance, nurturing community connections, and using your unique gifts in service to others. So those are very not religious, Jesus-based things, yet they all come back to relationship. So I would argue your relationship with God, your wife, your kids, your community is one of the most important things. Again, community, love, your contribution. Viktor Frankl says it great, is like how you deal with suffering, your service to others, and basically things other than oneself, like it not being about you, but about being your kids, your wife, your community, is things outside of just you. And so I come from a Christianity, you know, Christian perspective, but I do feel like all of those themes go straight back to Jesus's teachings. And so I feel like that's the framework that gives you true joy, and that's what people, each of those are things that people are missing. More community, more relationships, more love, more outside yourself things.
Quick point, and then Ben, it looks like you want to say something. Almost all those things, Chase, really require some sort of in-person, face-to-face.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think that's also made it very hard for people to be happy in the last decade or two as they've gotten more isolated.
I 1000% agree.
Ben?
To kind of Chase's point there, I also kind of grew up in a Christian family, and I have been going back to church here and there. My wife is more religious than I am, and I still don't know exactly what I believe. But the teachings of the Bible and Jesus really taught you how to live the best life, which is and to have a purpose, which is pretty crazy that it was all like 2,000 years ago. But I definitely do not disagree with everything Chase said there.
Hammond, can you mute yourself while you're in background noise? I think it's you.
And Don,
Or is that Chase?
Shouldn't be. No.
Okay.
Don, you said that you feel like you don't add value to the world. I don't know if that's exactly what you said. But
No, I'm very happy. I feel I add a lot of value in many of my own unique
I
ways.
think
But
investing adds
well, I just think
value
like
to the world. You're funding companies that are doing big things in the world.
no.
Come on.
Take the extreme example of this. Put Steve Jobs on one end and put Warren Buffett on the other end. Like Steve Jobs fucking changed the impact of the way that humanity's trajectory is going. Warren Buffett, I love the guy, obviously, but he's like a succubus of Steve Jobs. Like, oh, that guy's like pioneering and changing the world. Like, let me put some money into that. And like, you know, and so I'm not saying that in a negative way. And like Buffett would, by the way, Buffett would say the same thing. He's like, I don't do anything. I just sit around and like read and give money to people. Right. Like, so, and now he has made a huge impact on many people because of the success of Berkshire. And so you can make that strong argument, but I just think like the level of scale of impact you can have, you know, doing what a money manager is doing, Buffett, versus what Steve Jobs did or Elon Musk or Sam Altman, like that, they're vastly different purposes. And I just came from a world where, you know, I was trying to clone the entire world into virtual avatars and then put us all into a virtual world and have a user base of 2 billion. Like I had a very big vision of what I was going to do in my life. And so when I say I'm known a purpose, I just say it's a more localized concept. And then I also think like I've also, you know, like living in Naples, Florida is great because it's a small community. And so I feel like I can do like anything I do around here is fundamentally adding value or unique. I think like even hosting pre-games or hosting and organizing a dinner, like there's not that much stuff going on around here. And so I also can add value locally by just like being a social organizer of people.
Well, and you're doing something you love and you're working really hard.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to I mean, I'm 33, not married. I'm the only one here not married. And so I think whenever you hear the word or the question, what's the purpose of life? Your natural inclination is to immediately think family. And I think that is the number one answer. Is to Hemant's point, the whole point is to continue progressing everything, you know, whether you're progressing the word of Jesus or God or however you define it, or just general intellect of humanity or whatever you believe in as like your purpose to progress forward. You can only do that by having kids. And so I think that is like the fundamental thing. Let's say I never got married, never had kids. Would I be less happy? I think probably, yeah. I couldn't imagine. Like, I think I would end up adopting before I would let that happen, because I would, and that brings me to closing this with Warren Buffett. The value that Buffett gave to the world was not the investing. It was his once a year sessions for 8 hours where he changed the way that millions of people think about their wealth and like, so he was not making an impact by creating a business. He was making an impact by setting an example of how you think and sharing exactly how he thinks. So that I think is the same concept of why you have kids. You want to show how you think and have more people think like how you think, and then that proliferates, and that's your legacy. So I think it's all kind of the same thing, where you basically want to just continue the way that you're processing stuff so that other people can also process stuff in the future in the same way, but better than you do.
Do you guys remember learning about the caveman principle at Draper University? It's like a psychologist came up with it. And I think we read a book on it at Draper, but it's that we're like literally
You read a
hard.
book at Draper?
Wait, you mean sat on the beanbag and listened to some guy talk for an hour?
We're literally hardwired to prefer and need that high touch over high tech.
Mm.
And that's high touch in the long run will always win over high tech as far as when it comes to people's happiness. That's what the whole book was about. I'll find the book.
Hammond?
That was interesting.
Ben, on that point, I don't know if you saw the newsletter. Subscribe if you're not anyone watching. But
Like and subscribe.
I did an experiment this month where I told myself not gonna order any Uber Eats. I'm not gonna like do any grocery deliveries. So like basically I force myself anytime I eat, I have to go out to get it, which put myself in the wild. Anytime I get groceries, I have to go to the grocery store. And then I went on Eventbrite and I bought like 5 or 6 different in-person events. A sound bath class where I was floating on a twin mattress, floating around a pool with 20 people. A singles event. I drove 55 minutes to go to some singles event. I was the only person there under the age of 45. Fuck it. I don't care. Like everyone was 60. Like I just did I did a pottery class. I'm not good at pottery. Like I signed up for I just like did a full month of saying yes to everything in person and showing up to everything. Workout classes, everything. I'm 10 times happier than when, and here's a very stupid but specific example. There's this place where I order 1 slice of pizza from, the slice shop or whatever that's near me. And I would literally order 1 slice of pizza delivery, okay, to my house. And so anyways, there's a waste of $4 extra every time, right? But so I drove to go get it and I ate it in person, sitting there with my dog. And I ate way less of the pizza than I normally. It's a big fucking slice, by the way, like big. Normally I eat the whole thing at my house. I ate like maybe 80% of it, and I had never not finished it when I'm at my house. And I realized there was like some mental shift of being in public, like having consequences to like eating up 10,000 calories and like being fat, like just something about that dynamic changed the way I ate pizza. And so if you just think about that small example, like if you blow that up, you got to just like get out more and do shit. And I think that's what COVID ruined. And that's why people are so sad.
Well, and in my industry, commercial real estate, with COVID and everything, everybody thought retail would die. We'd be shopping in the metaverse, and the complete opposite has happened. Like retail is stronger than ever because people want that high touch experience.
Last week they were going out of business and filing bankruptcy and giving you the papers.
Small business.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would also add to that get in nature.
Yeah.
Because like even being by yourself in nature, just you can't even explain. Oh my gosh, you can just come back, and every time you sit there and go, why don't I do this more? And the internal, reboot, the external, like the energy's there, the retrospective time for yourself is there, which I mean, I don't get as much these days, so it's nice to do that. And then like for me, I hunt. So like I get to develop a skill. I get to work on like providing for my family, like killing an elk can provide meat for a year for my family. So like the psychology of it, the therapeutic of it, the being able to introspectively like digest, like it is nature. People need to do that more as well.
Yeah, we're literally hardwired for things like that. That's how like our bodies were built. And cavemen sitting around a campfire 100,000 years ago, having good relationships with everybody else, it's going to make sure you don't die.
Yeah.
Getting out and hunting and getting your food, that's going to give you dopamine. Providing for your community. And that's just how I feel our brains are hardwired.
Let's give it to Hemmant for his closing argument now that he's unmuted himself.
Now I've unmuted myself.
It is so loud. Where are you?
The alien.
I'm in my health club gym.
Looking fit.
Which forms part of my summary. I guess there's no singular purpose. I think you could allocate like points. You know, if I think about it, like my family probably occupies like 35%. My health now, like I'm really focusing on, like I'm trying to gym in the mornings at 5:30 a.m. because I want to be fit for later stage in life.
Also
I'd say
for
my
your
work-
family, by the way. That's still for your family.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. 100%. My work has probably taken more of a back step. It's really a smaller component, but I'm spending a lot more time with like friends. You know, I see friends 2-3 times a week. And just try and like experience things. Dom, to your point, like I'd rather get out the house and go and do something, whether it's go for a walk in the woods or whether it's we go play paddle, whatever. Like go and do things, meet different people, engage with different people. And for me, like I get a lot more joy from doing that at the moment than anything else. It could just be a stage of life I'm at, you know. That might change in 10 years. Who knows? It was very different 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think I framed it as my moral framework is Christianity, though, is because like I feel like a lot of those principles, the core principles stay. It's just the way you interact with them change. Like maybe it's less certain kids as you're older, but your community is or your family is other. Like you're forced into it right now with your family. Whereas later it's a choice and that relationship just shifts. So later in life, like stages in life, all of the way you contribute with others, all of the relationships you have, the way what you do with the community might change, but those core principles stay the same.
What do you mean you're forced to do it with your family? I don't understand.
Meaning like my kids are 7, 5, and 3. So I wake up, I have to like take care of them and I have to be with them and around them like 100%, no matter what, even if I'm in the wrong mindset or don't want to.
Right. Okay. It's like Hemmant saying, my purpose is chosen for me at 7.
Yeah. My purpose chosen for me. But when you're later in life, it's like, you know, you're still having those relationships, but it's like,
right.
Yeah. Anyway.
I want to go and play basketball with you when you're 14 years old.
Exactly.
Like, it's optional.
It's kind of optional.
But you get joy from it.
But you get joy. Yeah.
All right. Maybe next week or in 2 weeks when we do it, we should maybe record what is religion or something, or what's the importance of religion and go, because I think there's a lot of ways to go with that too. Spiritual route. That'd be cool to talk about as the next topic. Ben, you want to give any closing arguments, anything, or want to say goodbye? Or Chase?
Yeah, no closing arguments over here.
No, I've gone back to church, you know, and it has changed my life. Like it changes me and my life changes others, my family. And you don't realize just the little things, like all of those books, all of those little social media statements, all of these little things really just come back to the same principles, you know, that Jesus taught. So that's been impactful for me, but that's my purpose.
I will say I dated someone who was very religious, Chase. And so before meals, we would pray, and I'm Jewish, so I had never done that, you know, where you put your head down. And that was like I thought, because basically you're just saying thanks. You're just like taking moments to be thankful. I fucking love that, dude. I think that should be like a cultural thing in the USA.
But isn't that funny? Like
not like a religious thing, just like, hey, I'm thankful for all this stuff and like thanks. And then
isn't that funny? Like there's journals now you can buy where 5-minute journal. You wake up and be thankful. It's like, oh, well, guess what? You've been being told for centuries to be thankful.
Ben and I have been using the 5-minute journal for 10 years now, Ben?
Yeah.
We fucking pioneered that.
I remember. You
Yeah, we
guys
pioneered
did
it. Yeah.
You told me in Draper.
So, but I think religion helps you. You know, the structure helps you be thankful, and that's an amazing value.
It helps you with all of those core principles. That's my
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Good shit, boys. Enjoy. Stock market opens up 2 minutes.
Have a good
Don't
one.
need the
The closing, the closing song should have been "Go to Church" by Ice Cube.
DJ, spin that.
Yeah. Wait. Oh, yeah. I forgot. AI make us a graphic. All right. Goodbye, y'all.
Later.
Bye.